Joining us now to review some of today's headlines of top stories from newspapers around the world is my very good friend Vimbai Mutere. Great to have you. Vimbai.
Great to be here. Morning, everybody. Happy Friday.
Yeah. Happy Friday to you too.
TGIF. Yeah.
Good to see you.
It's great to see you as well, and always exciting to listen to your conversations before joining you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, let me take it away.
Oh, I called you Mumbai.
Did you call me Mumbai from Dubai? Like Mumbai? It's okay. It happens often. Let's get straight to it. We kick off with This Day newspaper, as is tradition on our programs. This Day, of course, leading with the massive story that most of today's papers are leading with, which is that EFCC investigates scores of top companies over FX allocations in 10 years. They've also joined the issue of the former Minister, that's Sadia Umar Farouk, who's written to the agency over her failure to honor their invitation. She was supposed to have had a meeting with the EFCC earlier in the week. Suspended NSI PA boss Halima Shehu reports second day for further investigation. All issues that have been discussed at length this morning, but of course that is probably the biggest story of the day across the majority of the newspapers. Just above that and below the masthead, to consolidate himself in power, Fubara reaches out to allies in unlikely quarters. Another conversation that we've had today, and it's coupled with the image that we see of Governor Fubara with Governor Duye Diri of Bayelsa State. Above the masthead, KPMG exit of GSK, PNG, others reducing investors' confidence in Nigeria's economy, which of course is expected. They face their own challenges, and such massive corporations leaving any market is certainly likely to send a signal to other foreign investors. So a story that's worth digging into and a conversation to be had. Now, let's quickly get into what is beneath that, and that's Funke Akindele's A Tribe Called Judah grosses 1 billion, first of its kind in Nollywood. So let's go to Business Day. Business Day newspaper buttresses this point and takes this story in a much, much bigger light. Business Day, A Tribe Called Judah, of course, and they're saying that every week since its release on the 15th of December 2023, A Tribe Called Judah has broken a record. The biggest weekend opening in Nollywood, the largest opening for a female director ever, the highest grossing Nollywood film ever, and it has now become the first Nollywood film to reach the 1 billion naira mark domestically, according to reports. And of course, as you get deeper into this report, there's a conversation about, could these numbers be real? How did we reach this number? So a very interesting report from Business Day concerning Nollywood and figures in Nollywood. Now, let's quickly go to the Nation newspaper, which again is leading with EFCC. Very busy day, busy week actually for our good friends at EFCC. However, above the lead story is Uphold My Mandate. This is on the Nation newspaper. Uphold my mandate, Plateau Governor urges Supreme Court. So we all know that today is D-Day for Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State, as the Supreme Court will be ruling on his mandate, so to speak. And of course, as it's an issue that is in the courts, we can't get into too much detail, but he is saying that of 8 issues distilled before the Court of Appeal, only 1 was determined and others were untouched. So several other newspapers also looking at that. The Nigerian Tribune is also just above the masthead on the right-hand window, leading with appeal court judgment unfair to me, Plateau Governor tells the Supreme Court. And just to take you back to Business Day very quickly, what I like about Business Day is what they've also done is they've looked at the 4 Supreme Court rulings that are likely to take center stage so far in 2024. So that includes Kano State, Plateau State, Nasarawa, and Zamfara. So all eyes still on Supreme Court as we continue to look at the fallout from the 2023 election. Right, swiftly moving on to the Punch newspaper, which is, of course, leading with the same EFCC story. However, at the top, there's a continuation of that education story that has been developing concerning degrees, fake certificates. So fake degrees, 10,900 Nigerians in Benin, Togo varsities lament, because of course this blanket ban also affects those who are genuinely enrolled into these institutions. So now there's a conversation to be had about what is going to happen to those students who are genuinely at school, genuinely studying to try and earn their degrees. Now, a away from those issues to the Daily Trust newspaper. The Daily Trust is leading with bread and butter issues. Quite literally, households, SMEs still buy cooking gas above 1,100 naira per kg. Now, if you recall, on Sunday, November 26th, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources for Gas, Ekperike Ekpo, responded to the outcry of Nigerians and announced the federal government's resolve to immediately bring down the price of gas and make it available and affordable for Nigerians. However, reports and investigations by the Daily Trust across the nation show that this is yet to happen. In fact, the opposite is happening, with people seeing the price of cooking gas actually increasing. And this is, of course, due to an increased demand. A lot of people have abandoned using petroleum to power their generators. A lot of people are looking for ways to use gas. This story is such a contradiction to me, because we all know that Nigeria has Africa's biggest gas reserves. So the domestic market should have access to some of the cheapest gas prices. However, this is where we find ourselves. Still looking at the cost of living, just below the masthead left-hand window there on the Daily Trust, subscribers kick as telcos seek FG's nod to increase tariffs. So if the telcos' request is granted by the federal government, Nigerians will pay between 10 and 15% more for their data, for their phone calls, more than the current tariff. So not very positive news. Very quickly, we'll head to the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard is leading with a report from a viral video which says uproar over imposters exposed in army recruitment exercise. So this Vanguard writes that anger was the word yesterday as the Nigerian army, the Lagos state government, Oshodi Solo local government area, former Minister of Communications and Major General Tajuddin Olanrewaju, retired, reacted to a viral video of northerners seeking recruitment into the army as Lagos indigents. And they even had the necessary certificate. So in the video, which of course is still yet to be verified as a true video, however, some recruits who said they hailed from Kaduna State and could not speak the Yoruba language presented certificates showing they were from Koshofe and Oshodi Solo LGAs, among others, and they were seeking recruitment into the army under the Lagos state quota. So that has created a pretty major uproar in our security and in our armed forces. To our international papers, let's kick off with the Financial Times. Of course, we know globally this is a big year for elections. We're looking at elections in the UK, in the US, even in Russia. But to focus on the UK with the Financial Times, Sunak signals election will be held in the second half of this year. This is even contrary to kickbacks from Labour, who are trying to play up a May election. We're still waiting for confirmation of the election date in the UK. However, Lib Dems will next week put forward a bill to reinstate the Fixed Term Parliament Act, which requires a general election to be held on the first Thursday in May in the 5th year after the last polling day. Now, last but definitely not least, Washington Post is leading with a story that the US has been hit by a new wave of COVID with the new JN variant. So the coronavirus continues its trend of surging during holiday periods, and we're seeing a new variant doing the rounds, as reported by the Washington Post. A very busy news day for a Friday.
Yes, yes, it is. Shall I go? Okay, let me.
Yes, I hand over the floor to you.
Two things. First, because TGIF, I'm going to center and talk about a tribe called Judah, because very proud of Nollywood, and of course Funke Akindele, who seems to have the Midas touch when it comes to movies and breaking records in box offices. But I think beyond the figures and the celebration of that is to study that. Someone put yesterday, I saw a comment about how we ought to study her business model and just her penchant for being able to spot the movies that will, that would relate most with Nigerians. But before I come to that, coronavirus in the US. And I believe that, we said this last year, some people were saying they had the flu over the weekend, even in Nigeria. A friend of mine got tested after she thought she actually had COVID. And so it's prevalent, but I think what's helped in terms of the severity are the jabs that people took in the early days. So what's the thing? The
immunity, vaccination.
Vaccination. I just used the word jabs. For vaccinations, it's really helped in terms of managing. But the US has raised this as a red flag because they are complaining about staff members in their hospitals and them being understaffed because the number of people are calling in sick. By December 23, last year, about 29,000 cases had been identified, and there are some hotspots, including West Virginia, which leads as a state with the most occurrences of coronavirus. But coming back to Nigeria and Funke Akindele, you can dispute the numbers, but officially, since 2020, every year she gives us a blockbuster that breaks records. In 2020, she gave us Omogeto. In 2022, she broke her own record with Battle on Booker Street. And now in 2024, she's now broken the all-time record and hitting the first 1 billion mark with A Tribe Called Judah. Funke has had a very tumultuous year in the last year, running an election that she didn't win, losing her much-beloved mother, a marriage that didn't quite work out, and yet you cannot deny the resilience and doggedness of this woman. One of the things I think works for her, because I'm glad that I am able to have contributed to that 1 billion naira. I went to see the movie,
you're one of the people
with my mom, my husband, and a friend. So I think one of the things is the ability to bring in all the cultures. So Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, everyone represented. In fact, the 5 main actors were from the different parts of Nigeria. So it shows that we can have movies that brings people together and also that passes a message and is still really great. Also, cannot forget the amount of money she spends on marketing. So financing in that industry to see that there can be returns, and how we invite more private investment in the movie industry in Nollywood, and of course government investment as well. There's a future there. And I just have to say well done to Nollywood.
Kudos to Funke, and I'm happy you talked about all ethnic groups coming together in that movie. That's why I say we must stop this excessive Yoruba-Igbo banter online. It is sickening.
Yes.
Secondly, I want to now talk about another video trending online that made the front page of the Vanguard, that the need for people to get indigenship before they can be in the military from local government in a country like Nigeria. And we talk about one Nigeria. Where you come from should not matter in this country. I think the big offense among those people is forging of the certificate, which is wrong. No, we've not been able to prove that they forged the certificate, whatever it is, which is wrong. But the fact that we need to get indigenship to represent a particular state in Nigeria, and we talk about one Nigeria, that's the part I don't understand. So what kind of country do we want to make it? A very inclusive federation or what? Or where we segregate ourselves? That's what I don't get. I totally abhor what they do, what they did, whatever they might have done, if they are found to have forged a document or anything. But the fact that we even need to get an indigenship to be able to get into the military, I thought where you are from should not matter in this country, in forging a very strong cohesive unit. And we should, if for anything, we should stop this tribalism. It's getting sickening. Everything people do now in these countries are the plains of Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. But the truth is, the real cause of your problem are not tribes. They are the corrupt, thieving Nigerians or politicians that get into public office. They all commit the crimes together. When they are all stealing government loot, they don't say, oh, this one is Igbo or Yoruba or Hausa. They all steal together. They are all contractors. We'll take a short break now, Ayo.
Well, thank you so much. Bye. Always a delight to see you.